Welcome to Your Story Doesn't End Here, the mental health podcast for military and veterans. I'm your host, Rachel, and my mission with this podcast is to be a voice for those who don't have a voice, bring awareness to mental health issues, and provide value and solutions to help make life more abundant. Hey everyone. So for my final episode of 2021, I just wanted to do a bit of a reflection of my year in regards to things that were really challenging for me and things that I'm really, really proud of for the year. So this is going to be another mini episode, but I'm just going to get right into it. So a couple of the challenges that I faced this year in 2021, number one was separating from the military. And I think probably a lot of veterans that you'll talk to will say that when you separate from the military, whether you think you're prepared or not, it's such a different dynamic in the civilian world, no matter what you end up going into, whether it's school, a career, stay-at-home parenting, whatever it may be, it is different. And it's not even necessarily because the Navy itself had a lot of structure, but it's just different. And I don't even really know how to explain it, but it was a way bigger challenge for me than I expected it to be. The Navy has this class called TAPS that you're supposed to do before you get out. Full disclosure, I didn't actually do it. I did like an online course and I just kind of skipped through it. So I'm sure that would have helped out a lot for me had I actually done that course in my transition into civilian life. But yeah, I separated in September of this year after completing 6.5 years of active duty. And mentally and emotionally and physically, it just like really took a toll on me. I don't regret my decision to get out because I think that for my mental health, it was the best thing for me. But it really did present like a major challenge that I was not expecting. The second challenge for me this year was pregnancy. And for those of you who know me, you know that in, what was it? I don't even remember. One of the earlier months of this year, I unexpectedly found out I was pregnant. And it threw me into this whole slew of emotions. I didn't know that antenatal depression was a thing. No one ever really talks about it. And I do want to use my platforms to talk more about that because I don't think there's enough information out there about antenatal depression. But after feeling like I was in such a good spot physically, with my health, with my nutrition, and just feeling really good, getting off antidepressants earlier in this year, pregnancy really just threw me for like this emotional whirlwind that I am not going to lie, I'm still dealing with. And it's not easy most days, but I think a lot of women really deal with this dynamic when it comes to depression during pregnancy and kind of an expectation that pregnancy is supposed to be this like super exciting, amazing time. But for me, it's presented as such this massive challenge the last 9 months. And yeah, so that was like a really huge one for me this year. So pregnancy itself brought on a condition called Bell's palsy, which is my third challenge of the year. And it's a partial facial paralysis. And with that, I can't taste in half of my mouth. My vision's blurry in half, well, almost at half of my eye, but my right eye. My mouth like doesn't work. Like I can't smile on half of my face. I can't use my right eye like to be expressive. And it's kind of one of those things that you don't really think about. Like you take for granted things like expressing emotion until you can't do it anymore. And emotion is one of those things that we just kind of automatically know how to do from such a young age that it's just weird not being able to express it in the way that I've been doing for 28 years of my life. And so that itself, on so many different forefronts, has presented as a challenge for me this year. And still working through that. But and then the last major challenge for me in 2021 has been mental health. And I know I touched on a couple of reasons why with the last two challenges that I talked about, but it's such a weird dynamic when you're, I want to say, stubborn, for lack of a better word, because I'm not going to lie, like I haven't gone to therapy or anything. I'm not taking antidepressants. I'm just kind of trying to navigate through this weird phase of my life on my own. And I don't know. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this at all, but it's just like, I don't even know how else to describe it other than it's just like strange. It's a challenge. It's very overwhelming some days. And sometimes you just don't really know how to quite cope with it other than like what you know. And so for me, like really distancing myself from things like social media or like things that are sensory overloads, like my phone sometimes can be really helpful, but I'm still trying to figure out what works best for me on that forefront. And as I figure things out that work for me, I will for sure share with you guys. But that being said, those are my major challenges, things that really stood out to me when I was reflecting on this year. But I want to get into what I call my triumphs of 2021 because not everything's bad all the time. There have been some really amazing things that have happened to me this year, and I want to share those with you guys as well. So, the first one for me is that I am still moving forward despite all the challenges I've faced throughout this year, despite all the hard times, the tears, the feeling immense overwhelm and not knowing what to do, I still move forward every single day. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. And so if you're in this space emotionally where you feel like 2021's just been a really hard year, I want you to pat yourself on the back just for the fact that you woke up this morning, you are still breathing, you're still moving forward every single day. And maybe you're crawling, maybe you're not even crawling, maybe you're just barely inching forward, but you're still moving forward. And you should be proud of yourself for that because that's huge. The second thing is launching my podcast. I put off launching this podcast for a really long time. I actually started thinking about it initially in 2020 and I didn't do it and I didn't do it. And when I did launch it, it wasn't perfect the way that I wanted it to be. But the fact of the matter is that I did launch it and I'm proud of myself for that. And I know that I've already impacted several lives just from having this platform out here. And it has such a large vision of what I want this podcast to turn into in the future and beyond. I really hope to make just a massive difference when it comes to active duty veterans, mental health, and hopefully in the future get the attention of some really high level people with just sharing these stories on this platform. But if anything, at the end of the day, I think that sharing your story is so powerful. And I just am so full of gratitude to be able to have a platform for people to share their stories because that alone is so therapeutic and so amazing and empowering. And so I'm just really grateful that I was able to do that this year in 2021. And I really look forward to see what 2022 has to bring with my podcast. So the third thing that I consider a triumph for this year is the travel and the experiences. I earlier this year traveled to Hawaii, Texas, Florida, Michigan. I think that's it. But I absolutely love travel. I love experiences. I love immersing myself in other cultures. And to have the opportunity to do that was just absolutely amazing. Alongside the travel and experiences, my fourth triumph of the year is the networking and connections, which kind of goes alongside the travel, kind of doesn't. But when I was traveling, I just met the most amazing people. And I have so much gratitude for that. Social media has also been a huge, huge avenue for networking and connections for me this year. And I have just connected with the most beautiful people who have forever impacted my life and will continue to impact my life well into the future. And so I encourage you to do this for your year. I know a lot of times as we approach the end of the year and the beginning of a new year, we start talking about resolutions and reflection, but really just simplifying it and four things that were challenges and four things that were triumphs. And learning from that going into the new year. Now, me personally, I'm not going to set necessarily a resolution for 2022. I will probably set like a theme for 2022 or something that I want to revolve my life around for the year, but I'm not setting any specific expectations. I definitely have some major goals, and be on the lookout for the podcast because there's some phenomenal episodes coming out that are launching in 2022. You won't want to miss out. Make sure that you're subscribed to whatever platform that you listen to this podcast on, because there's some just incredible content coming out and I'm super excited for it. If you know anyone that you think could really add value to the podcast in 2022, please have them send an email to yourstorydoesn'tendhere@gmail.com. Everything's in the description below this episode, but I just really wanted to end this off with the utmost of my gratitude to every single one of you that listens. You guys mean the world to me, and this podcast would not be what it is without you. So please continue to listen, share to your audience, share to anyone who you think this might impact, or maybe help them not feel alone, if anything. But I hope you guys all had a great year, and I hope that your 2022 is even better. And I look forward to seeing what the year has to bring. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen in today. Each week, I'll be bringing you value in the mental health space and its direct impact on service members and veterans. If you feel you personally got value today from this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a 5-star rating and review and share this to your audience. Until next time, remember, your story matters, your mental health matters, and your story doesn't end here.